Here are the Amish's 50 construction tips and hacks that work extremely well. Build a barn in a day with many hands, ropes, and poles. Have you ever wondered how Amish communities raise entire barns in just a day? It works because of their teamwork and preparation. Ropes, poles, and pre-cut sections are used to lift everything safely and quickly. With everyone helping, large frames go up in hours. No machines, just coordination. Meals are served to volunteers afterward. Mark every beam before raising day. It keeps assembly smooth, prevents confusion, and helps the frame come together faster without needing constant measurements. Join beams with wood pegs, no nails. Amish builders often avoid nails and screws, preferring wooden pegs instead. These pegs, called trunnels, expand inside the wood and lock tighter with time. That makes buildings stronger and more flexible through the seasons. They drill holes slightly smaller than the pegs, then hammer them in for a tight fit. Use strong hardwood like oak for lasting joints. Always sand pegs beforehand and store them sorted by size to make construction smoother and more organized on site. Cut trees in winter so they dry straight. Winter cut timber makes straighter, longer-lasting lumber. When trees are felled during the cold season, the low sap content means the wood dries more evenly and resists splitting. Amish loggers usually harvest in January or February, then stack and air dry their logs under covered sheds. This prevents warping and mold. Make sure to rotate your lumber piles every few weeks. Label the stacks by date to know which batch is seasoned and ready for framing when needed. Shape logs with an axe, smooth with a plane. Amish woodworkers still rely on hand tools like broad axes and hand planes. Logs are first rough shaped using an axe, then smoothed with the plane. This preserves the grain and avoids splintering. It takes more time but produces stronger, more beautiful beams. Use chalk lines to mark cuts and check angles with a framing square. Always sharpen blades after each use. A well-kept tool makes every movement more efficient and lowers fatigue when shaping several beams. Keep pegs in cornmeal so they stay dry. Wooden pegs can swell if exposed to humidity, so Amish builders store them in containers filled with cornmeal. The meal absorbs extra moisture, keeping the pegs dry but not brittle. This also helps prevent mold and pest damage. Use clean, dry bins and stir the cornmeal occasionally to keep it effective. When ready to use, pull out just what you need for the day. Rotate your peg supply so older pegs don't go to waste. Use one stick to mark all posts. Instead of measuring each beam with a tape, Amish carpenters often use a single marked stick. This stick, notched or etched with key measurements, is their go-to template for cutting uniform posts. It saves time and avoids measurement errors. Mark it clearly and double-check the notches before each project. Keep it with your framing tools so it's always handy. Using the same stick on an entire frame keeps everything aligned without constantly checking and rechecking dimensions. Trim joints with a big chisel. A wide chisel gives you cleaner, flatter results when fine-tuning timber joints. Instead of using small blades or rasps, Amish craftsmen often reach for large chisels to shave off high spots in tenons and mortises. The bigger blade stays more stable and covers more surface with each push. Always go with the grain to prevent tear out. Keep a leather strop nearby and hone the chisel often for better control and cleaner cuts during detailed joinery. Look at beams in morning light to see bends. Light tells the truth. Amish builders often inspect beams in early morning sunlight when shadows are longer and reveal natural curves or bows in the wood. It's a simple but powerful way to decide which beams go where. Straight ones for headers, slight curves for rafters. Stand back, sight down the length, and rotate slowly. Mark any bends clearly with chalk, so no one mistakes the piece later. Flip or position bowed beams crown up to counteract sagging. Glue joints before pegging. Securing mortise and tenon joints with wood glue before pegging adds long-term strength. The glue fills micro gaps and reduces creaking as wood expands or contracts. Amish craftsmen brush on hide glue, fit the joint tightly, then drive in wooden pegs for double hold. Wipe off excess glue before it dries to keep surfaces clean. Clamp large assemblies overnight if possible. When building in damp weather, warm the wood slightly with a heat gun to help glue cure. Cut on knife lines, not pencil marks. Precision begins with the first mark. Amish carpenters score their layout lines with a knife instead of a pencil, because knife lines are finer and guide the saw blade directly. Pencil marks can be too thick or smudged during work. Always keep your knife sharp and cut lightly, deep enough to guide, not enough to split the wood. Use a square or ruler to guide your score. Saw on the waist side of the line to preserve fit. Shim rafters with same wood. If your rafter layout ends up uneven, the best fix is shimming using thin slices of matching wood to adjust height. Amish builders slice soft wood from the same batch to ensure uniform movement with the frame. Place shims under rafters or along plates as needed, then secure with nails or pegs. Don't use cardboard or composite shims. They compress over time. Plane them down gently after placement to keep roof decking smooth and avoid bulges under the roofing. Cut and clamp bent beams to make them straight. When a beam is too valuable to discard but slightly warped, Amish builders saw along the bend, apply glue, and clamp it flat. This trick helps preserve old-growth lumber and ensures stronger joins than forcing a beam into place. Let the glue cure for at least 24 hours under steady pressure. Once dry, sand the joint smooth. Reinforce the section if needed with dowels or pegs, especially if the beam will bear significant structural weight. Drill by hand with waxed bit. A hand drill works better when the bit is waxed. Amish builders rub beeswax or soap on auger bits to reduce friction and make drilling smoother. It helps keep holes clean and accurate. Start holes with a nail tap or awl. Always clamp small workpieces to avoid slipping. A scrap block under the clamp protects your wood surface from dents during the drilling process and keeps things level. Trace log sills on stone for tight fit. To fit logs on stone, Amish craftsmen lay logs in place and trace the irregular shape underneath. Then they chisel or adze the log to match the stone. This scribing method locks the log tight without wobble. Rub chalk on the stone and press the log. Chalk shows where to trim. Always retest after each carve and make sure your blade stays sharp to get cleaner, more accurate fits. Clamp boards with bows and rope. When bar clamps aren't available, Amish carpenters use curved boards and rope. They bend a thin board and tie it tight across the glued surface. As the board straightens, it presses the wood together firmly. Add scrap wood underneath the rope to avoid denting your work. Use waxed rope so it's easy to reuse. Tie across multiple points to ensure even pressure and a stronger final glue bond. Bevel siding so rain runs off. Beveled siding directs water away from the home. Amish builders plane the top edge of each plank thinner so rain slides off instead of soaking in. Boards are overlapped slightly with a tiny gap beneath to allow expansion. For best durability, seal the edges before hanging. Use a chalk line to guide your placement and check angles for consistency. A bevel helps prevent rot and extends the life of your siding. Oil pine with oil, turpentine, and wax. A simple wood finish uses linseed oil, turpentine, and beeswax. Amish carpenters warm the mix and rub it into pine with a cloth. The oil feeds the wood, turpentine helps it sink in, and wax gives a soft, moisture-resistant finish. Buff after 20 minutes, repeat monthly for heavy-use areas. Let oily rags dry flat outdoors to avoid fire hazards. Linseed oil can spontaneously combust if left crumpled indoors. Wrap tools in tallow cloth to stop rust. Tallow cloth helps protect tools from rust. Amish workers rub tallow into rags, then wrap cleaned metal tools inside. Tallow doesn't evaporate like modern oils, and the cloth cushions tools from dings. This method works well in barns or damp workshops. Replace the cloth every few months. Store wrapped tools in wooden boxes with airflow, not sealed containers, so any trapped moisture doesn't cause damage over time. Drill peg holes slightly uphill. Amish carpenters drill peg holes with a subtle upward tilt. That small incline allows gravity to help the peg settle deeper over time. It's a clever way to strengthen joinery without needing metal or glue. Use a hand brace for control and keep your angle consistent. Mark both sides before drilling through, especially on larger beams where alignment matters most for long-term stability and hold. Whitewash with lime and milk. Did you know that traditional whitewash includes lime water and milk? The milk's casein protein helps the mix bind to rough wood and adds durability. Amish barns, fences, and even interiors often use this breathable, natural finish. It resists mold and insects while aging gracefully. Mix fresh and apply with a stiff brush. Stir often while working, and wear gloves since lime can irritate bare skin. Pin windows with wood dowels. Instead of nails or metal latches, Amish builders often secure windows with wood dowels. These pegs slide into drilled holes, holding the frame or sash in place without rusting. It's a simple, durable method that also blends beautifully into woodwork. Make sure to sand the dowels smooth for a snug fit. For tighter control, lightly wax the peg so it turns but doesn't jam. Sharpen saws by lantern. Even in dim barns, Amish craftsmen keep tools sharp. Sharpening saws by lantern gives enough light to see the file's angle without glare. Use a saw vise or clamp to hold the blade steady. Work slowly along the teeth with a small triangular file. Check your progress with your thumb. Sharp teeth will catch. Finish by lightly oiling the blade to prevent rust between uses. Test chisels on thin shavings. Quiet means sharp. A good chisel barely whispers through the wood. Amish carpenters test their blades by shaving off whisper-thin curls from soft pine. If the blade sings or pulls, it's not ready. Use a flat stone or strop for final polish. Always check both the bevel and back for burrs. Store chisels in a cloth roll or block to protect the edge and your fingers. Bend handles with steam in a hot pipe. Steam bending gives wooden handles strength and curve without cutting fibers. Amish tool makers soak wood and steam it inside a capped metal pipe. After heating for an hour, the piece becomes pliable enough to bend into a jig. Let it dry for 24 hours in shape. Always wear gloves when removing hot wood and keep clamps ready so you can secure the curve quickly. Keep glue warm in hot water. Cold glue doesn't spread well or hold strong. Amish builders often place their wood glue bottle in a jar of hot water before use. This thins the glue slightly, improving flow and bond. Just be sure it doesn't get too hot or it'll break down. Keep the water around 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius. Wrap the bottle in a rag to help it stay warm while you work. Stuff straw under the roof for warmth. Insulating with straw is a trick passed down for generations. Tightly packed straw under rafters traps heat and blocks drafts, especially in lofts and barns. It's breathable, biodegradable, and renewable. Make sure the straw stays dry. Moisture leads to rot or pests. Line the space with breathable fabric if possible. Replace annually and check after storms to keep your insulation working through all seasons. Lay stones dry. Wedge key ones tight. A dry stone wall needs no mortar, just careful stacking. Amish masons fit each stone like a puzzle, angling large base stones and using wedges to lock them. The key is to tightly pack small rocks in the gaps so nothing shifts. Set the largest stones at the bottom, angled slightly inward. Cap with flat stones across the top to help shed water and reduce settling. Run a sawmill with a horse. Using horsepower instead of electricity is still common among the Amish. A belt system connects the mill to a rotating shaft turned by a walking horse. It's slow but is steady, allowing precise cuts. Safety is key. Keep loose clothing away from moving parts. Regularly oil the shaft and watch for belt slippage. Have a brake stick nearby in case the horse needs to be stopped quickly. Flatten bench with plane and sticks. For a truly flat workbench, Amish woodworkers use winding sticks, two identical straight sticks placed at either end of a board. Viewed together, they reveal twists. A hand plane then shaves high spots until both sticks aligned perfectly. Repeat often while planing. It's a visual method with great precision. Always mark your high side with chalk before shaving so you don't accidentally overcorrect the surface. Use green pegs, they swell and lock. Dried beams paired with green pegs form a natural lock. As green wood dries, it shrinks in length but swells across its width. That swelling tightens joints without glue or metal. Amish timber framers use this method for barns and houses alike. Cut pegs slightly oversized and soak them if needed. Drive them in firmly while still damp to ensure maximum expansion and hold. Mark rafters with a wood guide. To keep every rafter cut identical, Amish builders often use a handmade wooden pattern. The guide acts like a stencil, speeding up layout and reducing mistakes. It's faster than measuring each time and guarantees consistency. Clamp the guide firmly while marking. Double-check angles at both bird's mouth and ridge. When done, hang the guide on a peg for reuse throughout the frame. Dry shingles in shade. Fresh wooden shingles last longer when air-dried slowly. Drying in full sun can warp them, so Amish carpenters stack them loosely in the shade. Good airflow is essential. Never pile them too tight. Rotate the bundles every few days to prevent mold. Before installing, tap each one to test for cracks. Store extras under cover so they're ready for future repairs. Clean sap off saws with hot vinegar. Pitch and sap from green wood can quickly gum up saw teeth. Amish woodworkers heat vinegar and use a rag to wipe down blades. The acidity cuts the sap without damaging the steel. For stubborn buildup, let the vinegar sit a few minutes. Always dry the blade afterward to prevent rust. Apply a thin layer of oil to protect it before the next use. Drill porch holes at an angle to drain water. Standing water rots porch posts. To prevent that, Amish builders drill slightly angled drain holes at the base of post pockets. The angle helps rain run off naturally. Use a long bit and steady hand for clean results. Fill the bottom with gravel so water doesn't pool. Check drainage each season, especially after heavy snowfall or spring thaw. Hang doors on wood pivots. Instead of metal hinges, some Amish doors swing on wooden pivots. These are dowels fitted into drilled holes at the top and bottom of the frame. It's a quiet, sturdy solution that resists rust and lasts decades. Use hardwood for the dowel and reinforce the top jamb. Lubricate with beeswax for smooth movement. Test swing clearance before final install. Brace frames with sandbags. Wind can shift open frames during barn raising. Amish crews often brace corners with heavy sandbags tied to stakes. Unlike rigid supports, sandbags adjust naturally and don't damage surfaces. Sew thick canvas bags and fill with clean sand. Place on the windward side of the structure and check for movement. Replace bags if they get wet and lose firmness. Use a clear hose to check level. Clear plastic tubing makes a perfect water level. Amish builders fill it halfway and hold each end where level points are needed. If the water lines match, the points are level, even over long distances. It's more accurate than a bubble level on uneven ground. Store the hose looped loosely, not kinked, to keep it usable. Flush it with clean water before and after each use. Stop stair squeaks with cedar wedges. Over time, stairs can creak where treads meet stringers. Amish carpenters tap in thin cedar wedges from underneath to tighten the gap. Cedar swells slightly with humidity, keeping the fit snug. Trim flush once tight. For added grip, dab a bit of wood glue on the wedge tip before tapping it in. Recheck seasonally, especially during dry winters when wood shrinks most. Wax bits after use. Tool care matters. Amish workers coat drill bits with beeswax after each use to prevent rust and reduce wear. It forms a barrier against moisture and makes future drilling smoother. Rub the bit with a waxed cloth or dip into melted beeswax. Store in a dry container with a moisture packet or rice to absorb humidity. Label sizes clearly for quick selection at the bench. Plain, tiny curves on floorboards for tight fit. Subtle curves help floorboards pull tightly together. Amish builders gently round the underside tongue edge with a hand plane, just a shaving or two. This allows boards to pivot slightly and close gaps as they're tapped into place. Start with the longest boards to get the hang of the cut. Label planed boards so you don't accidentally install the wrong side up. Make latches with curved wood. Homemade latches are simple, strong, and charming. Amish woodworkers use a bent branch or scrap with natural curve. A single nail or screw holds it in place so it pivots to lock a door. Sand smooth where fingers touch. Keep a few sizes on hand to fit different sheds or cabinets. Soaking the branch in warm water first helps with bending if it's too dry. Set fence posts upside down to last longer. Here's a clever way to resist rot. Amish farmers flip wooden fence posts upside down before setting them in the ground. The thicker former top end holds moisture better, while the narrower base end dries out faster above ground. Strip arc from the buried portion to discourage bugs. Tamp crushed stone around the post instead of concrete to allow better drainage over the seasons. Lift slate with straw ropes. Heavy slate tiles can be tricky to lift without cracking. Amish builders loop thick straw ropes under each piece to cradle and lift them gently. The straw cushions the weight and prevents chips. Wet the rope slightly for better grip. Always use 2 people for large tiles. Tie the ends to a dowel for balance as you lift. Make a wood plumb bob with nail tip. For leveling vertical lines, Amish craftsmen often carve simple wooden plumb bobs. A nail set into the bottom adds weight and precision. The point makes reading exact placement easy. Use hardwood for best balance. Hang it from a string tied to a rafter or beam. Check that it doesn't spin in wind by securing the string through a small hole in a block. Scratch plaster base with toothed tool. To help finish plaster stick, Amish builders rough up the base layer with a toothed trowel or homemade scratcher. The grooves lock in the second coat and prevent cracks. Scratch in horizontal lines about a 1/4 inch apart. Let the base dry slightly before applying the next coat. Clean your scratcher with vinegar to remove any hardened lime. Cool saws in snow to set teeth. After sharpening, Amish workers sometimes press saw blades gently into packed snow. The cold hardens the metal, helping the teeth hold their edge longer. Don't bury the entire saw, just the blade. Wipe it dry immediately afterward. Coat with a thin layer of linseed oil to prevent rust. Use the snow method only after adjusting the set with a proper tool. Clamp beams with wood wedges. Without modern clamps, Amish crews secure beams using opposing wooden wedges. They drive them in pairs to create firm pressure that holds timbers in place. Always use matching angles and tap gently. If needed, pad the surface with leather scraps to avoid dents. Check alignment with a square before final tightening. Save your wedges and label them by size for future work. Zigzag fences to lock rails. A zigzag or worm. Fence stays up without posts by locking rails together in a crisscross pattern. Amish farmers use this technique on rocky or frozen ground. The weight of the wood and angles keep it stable. Add cross braces every few sections for extra strength. Lay the bottom rails with ends overlapping about 2 feet. Avoid overly straight lines to prevent sagging. Whittle cedar shims to keep bugs out. Did you know that cedar can naturally repel insects? Amish woodworkers often whittle small cedar shims and tuck them into wall joints, windows, or between boards. The scent keeps moths and ants away without chemicals. Use sharp knives and shave with the grain. Replace every few years as the scent fades. Cedar chips can also be added to storage bins for extra protection. Paint inside with milk paint, rub to shine. Milk paint gives interior wood a soft, matte look. Amish families mix lime, milk, and pigment for a non-toxic finish. After painting, they buff surfaces with a cloth once dry to bring out a low sheen. Sand lightly between coats for smoothness. Always stir before use to keep pigment mixed. Store leftover paint in a sealed glass jar for a few days only.